I am 24 years old. I have had 3 heart attacks, a mini stroke, and I am now getting a pacemaker.
What's to blame?
The COVID vaccine, and that's when everything flipped upside down for me.
So is this Army memo an acknowledgement that your heart condition is the result of the COVID vaccine?
It 100% is.
Were you left behind by the Army and the National Guard?
I was left behind and trampled.
Meet Karoline Stancik, a specialist in the Army National Guard. She takes 27 pills every day after suffering her first heart attack while on active duty.
Did you have heart issues before you joined the military?
Not a single heart issue. I could run 10 miles at a time, play basketball, and now I have trouble just standing up.
What's to blame?
I mean, the only thing that would have changed was the COVID vaccine, and that's when everything flipped upside down for me.
Government records obtained by our investigative team confirm Stancik has a serious heart condition, and her case may open the door to service members who believe they were harmed by the Defense Department's COVID vaccine mandate.
According to this Army memo, your debilitating heart condition can be caused by either COVID-19 infection or the COVID-19 vaccine. Have you ever tested positive for COVID-19?
I don't have a single positive test for COVID-19.
So is this Army memo an acknowledgement that your heart condition is the result of the COVID vaccine?
It 100% is an acknowledgement that it was a result of the vaccine.
How hard did you have to fight within the bureaucracy to get this memo?
It really was a 19-month grueling process.
Does the Defense Department have a special responsibility to you and others who believe their COVID vaccine injured?
They're fully responsible. I was neglected, and the medical care that I needed to get was not happening, and so the damage was more by delaying the response.
Born in Lithuania, Karolina and her brother were adopted in 2003 by Lisa Stancik. 2 decades later, in college, she enlisted, inspired to serve by her grandfather, a World War II veteran.
I always looked up to him. He was a great leader, great role model, and I wanted to go ahead and follow in his footsteps.
In early 2021, she received her first COVID shot.
I received Moderna 1 and 2.
What was the reaction?
Cough, chest pain, sinus pressure. There was like a headache.
A month later, she received a second COVID shot. The reaction was intense.
I was experiencing severe neuropathic pain, felt like burning sensation throughout my whole body, and I was having chest pain, breathing issues, and a really high heart rate and dizziness. It felt like a balloon was blowing up in my chest.
Military records independently reviewed by our team confirm a debilitating heart condition known as postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS.
It's where your heart and your blood pressure don't work in accordance with each other.
What does it mean day to day?
Day to day, you don't know what's going to happen, right? And so I will wake up, my heart rate will hit the 180s, 190s.
On social media, Stancik documented her struggle to get an accurate diagnosis and timely medical help.
I don't know if I sound good or not. I feel like I can't breathe.
In April 2022, Stancik was released from active duty and told us she lost her health insurance and about $3,300 in monthly income.
I would say it's a culture of silence, but also at the same time, there's a fear of retaliation from the military and the government.
Having served for 21 years myself and having in a role most of that time as an officer, it's absolutely abhorrent to me that we would treat any young service member this way.
Jeremy Sorensen served in the Air National Guard as an F-16 and F-10 pilot and now advocates for service members through usjag.org.
Wait a second, because I want to understand something. So you've got a 24-year-old who followed orders, got the COVID vaccine, believes she's COVID vaccine injured, and that's not in the line of duty?
Well, by law, it's in the line of duty. But the Army and the National Guard abandoned Karoline Stancik for 19 months.
Sorensen says the Army and National Guard were obligated to retain Stancik until she was better and returned to duty, or she would go through a disability evaluation.
Her case is representative of hundreds, possibly thousands of other vaccine injury cases, but moreover, It's very indicative of the systemic problem of the Department of Defense abandoning injured service members. Vaccine injuries are also very, very political, and the leadership in the Defense Department did not want to address that, and still does not want to address that maybe we hurt our own people.
Just want to be clear, are you saying the U.S. Defense Department is not taking care of its people?
100%.
No longer on active duty, Stancik faced more than $70,000 of medical debt.
Have you been homeless?
About 3 weeks, I was living out of my car, driving up and down the coast, trying to get medical care.
When Stancik eventually settled in Florida, things got worse.
What happened here in September of 2023?
I was going through a really severe flare-up where my heart and my blood pressure were just all over the place. I literally just blacked out, didn't know what happened, and woke up at the bottom of the stairs.
You could have killed yourself.
Right, exactly, and that's what I fear.
I would just want to read you some text messages that you've shared with us. I've said it before, but if I was alone, I'd 1,000% consider a permanent exit. Did you seriously consider suicide?
I did. I talked about it with my cardiologist, and I just told her, I'm ready for this to just be done. I don't know how much longer I can take this.
I can see the tears in your eyes when you're talking about it.
I've been through multiple therapists, and I was denied mental health care because they said until the stuff with the military gets resolved, we can't help you.
The text hit Sorensen hard.
The issue of suicide, which the Defense Department likes to tout that they're doing something about, and then they throw service members into the position that Karoline Stancik is in.
Did they throw Karoline Stancik away?
They did. She was discarded as trash.
Finally, in October 2023, the Army Human Resources Command concluded Stancik's heart injury was considered in line of duty by the preponderance of evidence.
The memo states research has confirmed a link between COVID-19 infection and a debilitating heart condition called POTS. POTS was also linked to a lesser degree to COVID-19 vaccination.
I jumped to the part where it talks about vaccine, and I was like, that is exactly right.
You read that section and you said, that's me.
That is me.
I'm vaccine injured.
Exactly.
And how important is that service connection?
Service connection gets you benefits when you get out of the military, and so without that, I would not get any benefits for these conditions.
Does this Army memo open the door to recognizing other service members who believe they are COVID vaccine injured?
I really am hopeful that this will provide them the help and care they need.
I can't understand, I can't explain how any military officer could mistreat our service members like has happened to Specialist Stancik. It hurts me deeply because it takes away my faith in our own Defense Department, our own government, which I swore to serve. And I would willingly do that again. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't recommend anybody else do it.
That's a very hard thing to say. I know that. That's right. Yeah, just take a minute.
When our team recently interviewed Stancik, she faced another medical crisis.
We are sitting down just days before you're having major heart surgery.
I'm getting a pacemaker in 2 days.
How does it happen at 24?
It's that's not what I expected for myself. I thought I was going to be doing marathons, and I'm literally sitting here not allowed to drive.
Based on interviews you've given previously, one criticism is that you're an anti-vaxxer. Another criticism would be that you're doing this story because you're trying to push an anti-vaccine agenda.
That is not the case. My story, my health is my own. I've had to live these traumas, and so I would never want to ever see someone go through the same thing as me.
For service members who believe they've been COVID vaccine injured, what's the cost of coming forward?
Cost coming forward for those who have been vaccine injured is probably greater than other injuries because of the political environment and the stigma around not following the order to get a vaccine or for speaking up against the vaccine itself after getting it.
What was the cost of following orders?
I mean, it pretty much cost my whole life, and obviously I'm not the same person.
It's a sacred military pledge to leave no one behind. Were you left behind by the Army and the National Guard?
I was left behind and trampled. They watched it, they came back, walked all over me, and then left again.
That's a very serious charge.
I'm very serious when I say it.